Welcome all to our fourth and final session of Coffee with Clinic Sites. It's been a fun little series here for the last few weeks to just walk through some different things that your practice might be thinking about. Again, just as a recap, there's so many things that you're great at doing, but all of a sudden, once you opened your practice, you were asked to then become a marketing person. All of a sudden, to think about things like technology and websites and how you're engaging on social media and all these things. And those are questions that we don't always have answers to. And so it's something that we at Clinic Sites are thinking about all the time. So that we thought this would be a fun little series to run, with the idea being that if we went for coffee together, we'd sit down for, you'd ask me, well, what's happening with SEO? Everyone keeps telling me I need to be focusing on SEO. Well, we wanted this to be an opportunity to kind of have that conversation, answer some of those questions, bring some clarity to it. Obviously, this isn't a full day seminar or a multi-day workshop where all of a sudden we can go super deep. So we're going to kind of help bring clarity to it. And we can talk a little bit later about some next steps and where we could go from there if we want to keep diving into it. So with that, let us begin. So again, we're going to keep these sessions short and sweet. Don't want to take it much longer than a cup of coffee. Today in this session, we're going to just, first of all, get all on the same page and talk about what is SEO. There's lots of different ideas out there. If anything, there's just a complete lack of clarity. Lots of us get emails all the time from people around the world asking us to improve our SEO, but we're like, what actually is it? So let's get on the same page as we talk about that. We're going to talk about the criteria, and I put here to say the magical criteria, because this is the type of thing where Google and all the other search engines have their criteria of what makes a website that should rank really high, and they don't always disclose all that. So we're going to talk through some of the different pieces there of what to think about with criteria for your website. I'm going to give you my most practical tips. I've been in and around this space for over 15 years now, and I'm going to kind of walk you through the core things that I think that actually don't cost a lot of money, don't take a ton of time, but that I think will make the biggest difference when it comes to improving your ranking for SEO. We're going to talk about the competition of SEO, kind of why does this matter? What is it worth investing for you specifically for your business? We're going to talk about how the competitive landscape differs from practice to practice. And then we're going to have some time at the end for Q&A. So if you have questions throughout our session today, feel free to drop those in the chat. We'll also have a chance to put them in there closer to the end of the webinar, and we'll kind of have some back and forth opportunity. If there's any questions that come up, I'd be happy to answer those closer to the end of our session. So from there, let's jump into it and talk about what is SEO. So the SEO was a concept that didn't exist, let's say 30 years ago, but a number of years into the birth of the internet, search engines come along, and all of a sudden, specifically with Google, it becomes the landing page where people start their moment on the internet. When they're going to search for something, they right away want to search in a search engine. Obviously, there's lots of different ones out there, but Google absolutely kind of became the major player along the way here. And so what we wanted to do is kind of talk about what Google's trying to do in that moment. And their job is to provide the most relevant, most valuable link available when someone's searching for something. So Google's trying to get in the head of that visitor and saying, what are they specifically looking for? Where are they searching from? Which result of all the internet that we have to pull from, which result is the one that they're most likely to connect with? The idea being that as a user of Google, if I'm happy with the result they give me, then I'm more likely to come back and use them again. And obviously Google wants eyeballs, they want traffic to their website. And so they're trying to provide the most valuable link. And this matters a great deal to your business because we're trying to be the one that Google chooses at the first results, or at least within the first number of results. And the reality is that has significant impact on your business. If you become in that top ranking, then when someone's searching for your specific service in your specific area, that's going to make a big difference as far as people actually coming to your practice, booking appointments, utilizing your service. If you don't rank, if you're like down on multiple pages through or not showing up at all, then all of a sudden there's that's a huge missed opportunity of traffic for you. And so this really can matter a great deal. That's why we pay attention to SEO, because of how much it can help you grow your business. Diving into the magical criteria, there are hundreds, if not thousands, of different criteria that Google's algorithm uses, that all the different search engines are using to determine who ranks the highest. And we're going to talk about a number of those different ones today. Things like how you're using specific wording and tags in your website and optimizing different performance things. There's all these different pieces that can go into how your website performs. But the biggest one that I want you to know about as far as all the different criteria is Google wants you to bring value. They want you to help people. They don't want you to try and trick them. And often when people do try and trick them and try and rig the system, they actually end up punishing you. And those are called black hat techniques that people try to do, where they try to just force words in, really make it unnatural in terms of how you've built your website, not making it user first, but try to make it Google first, and you're trying to trick it to rank you well. We don't want to do that. What we want to do is bring the most value possible, because as we do that, Google's going to have us moving up the ranking, because people are going to find success for the different problems they're searching for. They want you to help them solve different problems. And I think that's going to make a big difference for you. So did they find what they wanted? And if they didn't, they're going to go back. And Google tracks all this, right? They're tracking the user experience of a visitor. So if someone comes to your website, says that I didn't get what I wanted, and leaves and has to go click another link, that's going to hurt you in your ranking. So what we're trying to do is figure out how to make your website as great as possible so that people do find the solutions they're looking for. So hopefully that's a bit of a helpful overview in terms of what matters most when it comes to the criteria. Lots of techniques, but at the end of the day, let's make sure we're bringing value. So I want to jump through here to some of my most practical tips. And within this, I'm going to, when possible, also show examples. So the first thing I always tell people when they will book a call with me or send me an email and say, we're not ranking for what we want to rank for, that concept is very vague, because we're not ranking can just mean anything. It can be what are you searching for? Where are you searching from? All these different factors go into how you're going to rank. And so the first thing I say is, if you want to appear for specific search, you have to use those words on your website. It's very common for someone to say, well, I Googled this and it didn't come up. And the first thing I'll do is pull up their website and say, where on your website are you using those words? And they're like, well, I don't actually specifically say that anywhere. And so the key factor here is to think of, how can I place those words within our website? Even the step before this is actually taking that opportunity to say, what is someone going to be searching for? Have a persona in your mind of a neighbor down the street, of a business person in your community, and they're going into Google. What if they need your service? What are they searching for? And that list should be anywhere from 5 to 10 searches. The reason why I say don't do many more is that you want to really get those ones right. Of course, there's going to be kind of a secondary list you can make along the way, but I would say just focus on 5 to 10 searches. Let's just say we're here based in Courtenay, BC, and let's just say you are a chiropractor. I want to get chiropractor in Courtenay, BC. I want to say best chiropractor in Courtenay. I might say back pain treatment in Courtenay. Maybe there's some specific services you offer that you could rank really well for. So you're really going to focus in on those. And those are the ones I want to rank for. Once I start ranking for those ones, and I kind of isolate those as the top ones, from there is where we can really start branching out and building more and more and more as we go. But just as a great starting point, come up with your core searches, and then let's get those words placed into your website. Next up, all words are not the same, in that it's not just a matter of just getting a big body of text and just printing out everything and spitting it out and say, great, Matt said I needed to use the words, I'm just going to put them out there. There's a real hierarchy when it comes to the way Google reads a website that matters in terms of what you're saying are the most important words that people should be searching for. And I don't want to get too much into the code here, but when you're using your website editor, there's different headlines and things like that throughout your website. Those are called H1 tags, H2, H3, and it goes all the way up to H6. And whatever you put in that H1 tag is what you deem to be the primary headline. Each page should have at least one H1 tag. And for this, again, I might say chiropractor in Courtenay, or best chiropractor, or whatever that would be that you determine to be the most important headline. And I'll get to this in a minute, but every single page of your website should have one of those, because they can all rank for different things. But then you also have those H2 tags, H3 tags, and that's where you can use some of those secondary terms. So how we use headline tags as well as your page title tag, it's something you don't actually see visibly on the website, but it shows up in the little tab at the very top. You can see up here, we've got next clinic, clinic sites, and you can see we have a tag we're using best clinic websites for chiropractors up there. So those title tags are incredibly important. In fact, if you leave with one thing today, that is what I believe is the easiest change you can make, and the single most effective change is putting keywords into your title tags, not making them too long, but making those title tags to be really targeted to specifically what you want to rank well for. Moving from there, is that you don't just have a website. Sometimes people say my website's not ranking well. You actually have a series of individual pages. And so it's one thing I'm going to actually go to Clinic Sites for this example, because this might be helpful. Clinic Sites has its main website, which we want to rank well for clinic website development. There's lots of different terms we want to rank well for, but the reality is that we serve so many different disciplines that actually what we can do is rank well and create targeted pages for different services. So here, acupuncturist, I'm going to click on this one. And you'll notice that this page says elevate your acupuncture clinic's website, start a site, join us in building acupuncture. We've specifically created this page to rank well for best acupuncture websites or acupuncture website developer. And just offhand, I'm forgetting which one it was, but once we built this, we actually rank #1 in Google for best acupuncture website. And it's not the homepage, it's not just the website as a whole that ranks well, it's this specific page. And what I love about that is if you're an acupuncturist and you're looking for a website developer and you click that first one, you land here, you see it talks all about how we help acupuncturists. We actually show examples of different acupuncture websites we've built. We've really targeted this page. And so for your specific instance, again, when it comes down to specific services you offer, specific symptoms you treat, all these different things, you can really create targeted pages to show up well. So it's not about getting a single website to just rank well for all the terms. You can actually really focus in on building pages that target those specific terms. So going back here, optimizing your images and improving your page load time. So again, I'm kind of really running through what I think the most impactful things you can make today. One thing you want to do, and I would actually suggest running your website through a tool called Google Page Speed. Let me just get this. Page Speed Insights. So pagespeed.web.dev is the URL. Run it through here, and it's actually going to show you. It's going to feel a little bit code-ish when you see the results, but that's something you could bring to your website developer, and actually it'll tell you if there's any images you're using that are not optimized, and that's one of the biggest pain points when it comes to Google ranking your site poorly. If your website takes a really long time to load because you have these really large images, or maybe your servers aren't running super well, or maybe the way your programmers coded your website, just make it take seconds instead of milliseconds to load that page up, they're going to punish you for that. Again, they're trying to give the best results, and sometimes that means the websites that load up the fastest. So one thing to just do a quick assessment for your site is are our images as small as they could be? Obviously, we don't want them to be pixelated and grainy, but we want them to, there's a way to really optimize them down so that they're not taking a really long time to load up. Next tip through here is improving your meta tags and descriptions. So this one's kind of, again, behind the scenes. You might not even know, some of you might not even know that these exist, but these tags and descriptions are used by Google, sometimes directly in the search results, sometimes just for Google to assess what you deem your page to be about. I'm going to jump in here again into our platform and actually show you how we edit these in our site. This is actually just a really fun tool we built a few months back that I just like to show off. So we have this thing called page SEO settings within each page of the website. And we have this tool called Generate SEO with AI. And so what this tool does, this is pretty unique, it's just kind of fun to show off, is it actually reads the content of the website, and then it uses AI to determine what would be the most optimized page title, keywords, and meta description. And so these are things you want to focus on when it comes to each page of your website. So it's determined that acupuncture, clinic website, acupuncturist, online presence, patient engagement, these are all keywords that they've determined to be helpful. Here's a little description that they've given us. And so I can save that, and right away that actually applies those changes to our page. And I definitely don't want to get too into the code here, but just to show you how that is now applied to our page title, our keywords, and our description here. And so you want to do that for each page of the site. If you're with Clinic Sites or interested in Clinic Sites, I'd love to show you more about that tool. It's a pretty fun one that the team's worked on these past few months. And then finally, just going into this idea about creating high quality content. So we talked about this idea that so often with websites, the content you put into your page is often the first thing you think of. Maybe it's whatever you had as part of your business plan, or it's whatever you have on a brochure. But really, it's about shaping that content to be as valuable as it possibly can be for a potential visitor to get them through where they want to get to. And again, Google's tracking these things. They know what success looks like for a visitor because they know that they didn't click away, that they actually landed where they wanted to and accomplished the goal they were trying to do. And so you want to think about how to really get great content in there that answers questions, that solves whatever problems you've determined that your potential visitors are looking for. And so just really taking the time to figure out how to like create a blog or get some great pages set up, some resources set up so that people spend some time on there. And just to dive a little bit deeper into that, the effect of quality content of creating it is right away other websites start linking to you, because if they're trying to find a local resource or an expert who's solving this problem, they're going to send people to your blog. They're going to talk about you in different ways. Maybe a local newspaper picks you up and says, hey, this local chiropractor has solved this problem really well, and here's a link to you. So right away, that's going to start happening. People will share it to social media, which means more links back to your website. That's a really key criteria. Is Google's trying to figure out who the authorities are. Google, you can't just set up a website today and immediately rank #1 on Google because you have no authority as far as the internet's concerned. And so what Google, one of the criteria they use is how many websites are actually linking back to you. And so right away, if they see that lots of people on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter are putting links back to your website, it's showing that you're an authority figure. So the more quality content you make, the more links back you're going to get. People will also spend more time on your website. Again, this comes back to this idea that Google is tracking how much time people are spending and what their experience is. So if they're seeing that they're spending not just a few seconds, but actually minutes on your website, then they're like, okay, this is obviously a website that people are respecting and paying attention to. And so in all of this, Google is going to take note if you're creating content. Whereas if you, again, just put up a really simple website with no depth to it, and sometimes that's okay, and especially as you're getting started. But if you can create a really high value site, then these are the different criteria that's going to help us rank a lot better in Google. So just want to now fire through even a few more quick tips, just kind of rapid fire here. Is adding your website to online directories is a great way. There's tons of resources out there. Maybe your association has a website. Maybe there's local business directories, community blogs, things like that. If you can get your website linked in those different places, it's going to help bring you more, I call it link juice, back to that specific domain. And so those are also, you'll also see them called citations around the web, but it takes a little bit of an investment of time, but well worth it as far as getting those links built up back to your site. The second thing is adding alt tags to every image on your website. So this is actually something that's most valuable for screen readers. When someone with poor or no visibility is looking at a website, they can't necessarily see the images, but the images might be important in communicating what's on your website. So there's these things in the code you can put called alt tags where you describe to someone what those images are. Often if you're describing a chiropractor giving treatment in Courtenay, BC, sorry, I keep coming back to that same example, but it's just easiest. A chiropractor giving treatment in Courtenay, BC, that's an opportunity to have more keywords all of a sudden on our website. And so going through and just to all your images, adding different alt tags can be a nice bump for your keywords as well. And then utilizing URLs that contain keywords is a great way. So I'm going to come back to this acupuncture site. So you'll notice we didn't just call this /acupuncture or whatever it is. We specifically said in the URL, websites for acupuncturists. And that term that I was talking about earlier, we ranked #1 for. So focusing on how these get built. Again, this might be the type of thing you have to talk to your website developer about, but these are all important details. So we've talked about H1 tags, title tags, meta tags, URL tags. The URL slug, it's called, is also very, very important. Claiming your My Google business listing. I heard the stat the other day. I think we talked about this in our Google review webinar, that something like 60 to 70% of Google My Business listings are not claimed, meaning they might have incorrect information, they might have incomplete information, or potentially you just run the risk of someone else coming and claiming it and taking it away. So taking the time to go claim your listing and getting it populated with the right content. Again, when we're talking about ranking well for Google, this idea that it's not just about kind of showing up in those primary search results, but often Google will actually put the location results first. So getting that set up is a very worthwhile investment that shouldn't take too long. And I think it's google.com/business, I believe. But if you just search Google My Business, you should be able to jump in there and claim that. The other piece here is that mobile matters. We talked again about this a couple weeks back, but this idea that making sure that your experience on your mobile website is important. Google actually differentiates between the two results. From my understanding, you can do the same search on a desktop and on a mobile phone, and Google's actually going to give you different results based on which one they think you're going to have a better experience on from that phone. So making sure that, again, load times are good, making sure your website's responsive where it kind of appears correctly for a phone, making sure that, links aren't broken, the layout's not broken, making sure that experience is good. Just to highlight again, taking the time to make sure your mobile site is set up properly. And then also minimizing plugins. I see a number of websites out there that really have added all these different bells and whistles from around the internet, different widgets to your site. And what that can often do is a couple things. One is it can delay your load time, to the time it takes to reach out to some third party to pull in those plugins. And that delayed load time can affect, again, your ranking if your website's taking too long to load. But also, that content doesn't actually exist on your website. Often plugins will actually store all the content on another service, and Google doesn't give you the credit for having that content on your site. So plugins can kind of make things a little bit messy for you. So just a quick note to be careful how many plugins you're loading. One great tool, again, is that page speed analyzer. It's probably going to show you if any of those plugins are kind of draining on your website. Diving here too to the competition of SEO. So just again, this idea of like, well, what do I do? How much do I need to invest in here? And this is so dependent on your specific area. So how many local people are there around you doing the same practice you are? How tough is that competition? Are they like fighting tooth and nail to rank #1, or are they all kind of just happily doing what they're doing? How populated is your area? Are you like a rural area or a really densely populated area? You might have people around you not even thinking about SEO, so setting up a nice website is immediately going to shoot you to the top. You might have people around you spending hundreds or thousands of dollars on their SEO. And so it can become this dogfight to really get there, again, because the investment has such a payoff if you actually do rank really well. And so all that to say, there's no set answer for, well, what should I invest? What's the right service for me? How do I move forward with this? It actually differs from practice to practice, depending on where you are and how competitive your space is. One other thing I quickly want to note here is you'll often hear about paid search versus organic search. And so I just want to highlight the difference here. And again, this is pretty 101 for some of you, but it's important to note is that Google actually doesn't give the top value result, the top listing. It's actually often these sponsored posts that get the first few listings in a Google result. And so if you want to do that, that's an entirely different effort that's actually hiring. Either you can go directly to Google Ads to do it yourself, or you can hire a company to help you run these ads, but that's showing up in those top ones. And then what we've talked a lot about today is kind of this secondary, more organic search result. This is screenshots from scrolling down on that page where this is now showing up top for chiropractor in Vancouver, but they had the paid ones prior to that. So there's organic search and paid search, and then there's also local search, which is the Google Maps listing I was telling you about earlier. So that's a lot of information. I hope it felt clear. I hope that for you got some really practical takeaways today. I do want to mention that this is what Clinic Sites does. We're very happy to help you. If you want to do all of this better, we want to be that resource for you. I love that we can do it in free ways today. And of course, we have different services we can offer to do it in a more in-depth way. If you're kind of saying to yourself, our website doesn't look good, it's too expensive, we can't get any support for our site, it's too difficult to make edits, or maybe we're not ranking well enough on Google, we would love to be able to help you. Kind of the core service that Clinic Sites offers, just for those of you who are maybe tuning in for your first session today, is kind of this primary, easy to use website. There's no setup fee. You can see a preview in 1 minute, super easy to make updates, and we really pride ourselves on having great support. One quick note I love mentioning is that we're throwing in a free Google widget for anyone that signs up right now, which shows all your 5-star reviews that have been left for you, and those dynamically pull into the site. So it's just a really fun feature. You see the pricing on the right side there. We have some special partnership for our Jane customers. Just head to clinicsites.co if you want more information on that. And one thing I'm really excited to mention today too is a new service Clinic Sites is going to be offering called SEO Booster. This is a monthly report we're going to be running to show you how you're ranking for all the different keywords. We're going to be suggesting different improvements you can make every month to your website that will help you rank better for those. This is the big part of this that I'm really excited about. We're actually going to be building you one of those new landing pages every month. So as we kind of have your keywords you want to be ranking for, one of our dedicated team members is going to be going in and building that page for you so we can set up a new page each month. We're also going to suggest keyword opportunities, maybe some spots where you could improve which ones you're ranking for. And again, just talking about that dedicated team member. If you're interested in this at all, would love to help you talk through this more. Just book a call with us at clinicsites.co, or yeah, I'll have my email up in a moment. You can reach out to me directly as well if you'd like. So from there, we're going to do some Q&A in just 1 minute. So feel free to drop in your questions into the chat. Maybe you've already been dropping them in, which is great. And we'll get to those in just a quick minute here. But while you do that, I just want to mention that all the sessions from this series have now been posted, and this one will be put up shortly to clinicsites.co/coffee. So you can head there, rewatch them. Hopefully, there's a ton of value for you. We've really enjoyed doing this series, and hopefully, we'll be running more things like this in the future. But really appreciate everyone taking the time to jump in. So from there, I'm actually going to invite Kelty back on, and we can touch on any questions if anything's come in here for us.
Thanks, Matt, so much. It was such a great series. I enjoyed that, and I hope the rest of you did too today. It was great to hear about SEO. I know it's an important thing. So in the chat so far, we don't have a lot of questions. So that means we've hopefully answered all the questions that you were coming with. But one that we do have to start is, do blogs make a big impact on SEO? And are there any tips to utilize blogs for this?
100%. One of the criteria that I didn't touch on today was the value of keeping your website fresh and up to date. And a blog is a great way to do that, because it's maybe hard to think about your static pages on your site and how those are kept up to date. But blogs are a really natural way to kind of have fresh content coming into your site. Now, huge caveat on this is far too many blogs on the internet have been born only to die a short time later. And we've all been to many websites where the last post was from 5 years ago. So that actually can end up hurting your brand a little bit more to have a blog up there where you haven't kept up to it. So you really want to make sure, if you're going to take the blog approach, to build a strategy around how you're going to keep it consistent. ChatGPT, a massive win in this. If you haven't already tried it out, it will suggest blog topics for you. It will help you write outlines to blogs. It will even write blogs for you. And then you go in there and put your expertise on it and put your touch on it, but it will help you get this content created. But so that really gives us all a step up when it comes to doing things like that. But definitely, if you have the ability and time to get a blog going, I definitely recommend it and the value it would bring to you.
Great. Thank you, Matt. The next question is, how often should we refresh our site? Is it monthly?
So refresh, meaning I'm assuming by that we're not talking about a full rebuild, because we don't want to be rebuilding a new website each month, but let's talk about kind of doing an audit. So I do think if you can build in some kind of cadence where you come back to your site, realistically, we've all got lots on our to-do list, especially as business owners who are probably many of us practicing directly in our clinic. It's hard to find time to do that. So I would say, even practically, if you could do it on a quarterly basis, that'd be great. Sometimes there's a great thing. Like what this SEO booster tool we're building here is to try and make it so that there's kind of a mechanical way to go do it. And sorry, I should say a more automated way where it's like, can this just be done for me? I don't have time to dedicate every single month to my website, but also maybe my competition does. Maybe the person down the street is doing that. And so we need to kind of, again, be in that fight to try to keep that ranking up. So if you can get in there on a monthly basis, that's amazing. But I think practically, if you can get in there on a quarterly basis, that'd be great. And then if you can find a service you can use that's within your budget, I think that's also a major win.
Awesome. And our next question is, do you know if Google recognizes if a blog post is ChatGPT assisted?
So everything I've heard about this to this point, and obviously, well, specifically, this would be in the more academic world. They're trying to chase down, trying to fight against this, where essays and things like that can't be written. But as of right now, ChatGPT does an unbelievable job at making content unique, and so I've never heard of a case yet where there's kind of been some punishment laid down because content was generated with ChatGPT. I think what is realistically going to happen is that Google is going to have to evolve as well with this reality of ChatGPT. So this is going to be, as it has been for 20 years, SEO is an ongoing conversation of Google trying to follow what's happening and again just trying to bring the most value to people. They're not, they're trying to figure out who's tricking them. They're trying to figure out who's trying to rank well and whatever. But at the end of the day, that's why we talk about value rather than these are all just tools in our belt as we try to bring the most value.
Was the end of our questions so far. Again, I just want to say thank you for all that information. Even as someone who's been working on this and experienced this SEO widget that Matt shared about earlier, it's just such good information to have and be reminded of on how we can just improve our online presence.
Too good. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to be with us today. Again, this will be something we do on an ongoing basis. We love being able to help you in any way we can. And if a website or SEO, or we talked about social media or improving conversion to your website is something that we can assist with, reach out to our team. We would love to help you. But thanks so much for taking the time today. Have a good one, everyone.